Hi everyone, for today's lesson I wanted to focus on database normalization. And what is normalization? And this is from Microsoft SQL servers page. Normalization is a process of organizing data in a database. It includes creating tables and establishing relationships between those tables according to the rules designed both to protect the data and to make the data more flexible by eliminating redundancy and inconsistent dependency. So yeah, I mean, what you can get from there is that two things that we need is that are very important is as SSS is one to protect the data, and usually they mean data integrity, that the data can be trusted. There's no issues with the data, nobody's doubting the data or the data type, and also redundancy. You don't want to clutter the database or slow it down with having multiple records or information you don't need to store in the database. And one thing to mention is there's 5 types of normalization: first, second, third, fourth, and fifth normal forms. And for this video, I'm only gonna cover the first two based on the tables that we have. And I just want to remind you that I just want this course is to be more specific for getting familiar with data, especially since I come from a data engineer world. But if you're also wanting to be like a database administrator and want to focus more on database design, then I definitely recommend looking into the other third, fourth, and fifth normal forms. I'm not saying that I won't cover them. Maybe later on as we get more tables. Right now, just my main focus is to get people familiar with SQL, and I'm just covering this data, just this information, just to let people know that there's other things to watch out for, what things they could learn. That way, they don't pick up on errors. And right now, that that's my main focus. So let's get started and reviewing the first normal form. So first normal form, what it does is it eliminates repeating groups and individual tables, create separate tables for each set of related data. For our example, it could be the customers and orders table, making sure that each table has unique values. Um, only have the connections in the tables too as well. Identify each set of related data with a primary key. So that's why too I wanted to cover this because of most tables when people start writing SQL, either with a new role already have a primary key. So for us it's the customer ID. So I always try to, whenever I create a table, always try to create a primary key. So if you are creating tables either for school or a job, make sure that you always have a primary key. That's very important because it um, pretty much what you're telling them, SQL Server engine or whatever other engine you're working with, is telling it once you create a primary key, the system will enforce that uniqueness on the table for you. And as I mentioned, the customer table has unique fields like date of birth, first and last name, and also two is that data types are enforced. And what I mean by that is that you look at the customer ID as an int, first name is and varchar. So on the back end, the server enforces that for you, so you don't have to so much worry about it. I mean, somebody may try and give you the incorrect data, and it may trigger an error, but that's more for you to solve it versus the system, enforcing that rule, because it's giving you an error because it's enforcing that rule. It's not gonna allow like a one in the date of birth field, or just a word that says like happy. It's gonna throw an error. So now moving on to our second normal form. So what this tries is it eliminates partial dependencies by ensuring that non-key attributes depend on only the primary key or compound key if necessary. So what this basically means, if you look at our orders table, it means that all of the non-key attributes such as ship date, SLA, completed, should depend on the primary key, and this primary key consists of two keys, the order ID and the customer ID. So it's saying that whatever information they get updated on, they should be depending on just only the order ID or customer ID. It shouldn't depend on anything else, especially if they include like an SLA, which over here seems more like a conflict of this information. So based on this, I don't think the SLA should be included in this table, since the SLA is more dependent more on the membership type. And so let's say the SLA that we have right now, since it's only depending on the based on the customer ID and the membership type, I feel that we should remove these two non-key attributes and create a different table. So the solution for our issue for the second normal form is to create a new table called membership, and this will have a membership ID, and then what it's gonna be, what it's gonna be used for is this membership ID will will link it to the membership type, SLA days. That way the order table is not tied to SLA days, because those SLAs are not dependent on the actual order. The SLAs are more dependent on the type of membership that the customer has. And I'm also adding to like a monthly fee, that way in the future, once we do store procedures or reporting, we can use it to calculate some fields or provide dashboard information. So then what we'll do to tie the membership ID back to our customer, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the membership ID field to the customer's table to reference the SLAs based on the customer's membership type. So see now the SLA now is correctly tied to the membership ID versus the customer ID and the customer order, which it would have which breaks the second normal form, as I mentioned on the previous slide. So then once we move forward on and the lessons, we're gonna be using a store procedure to actually calculate the SLA state. And what we're gonna do for now, we're gonna leave the SLA field on the orders table, but not to calculate the days, but to say if an SLA was met, we're gonna leave it as 1, and if it wasn't met, we're gonna update it to 0. But now let's switch over to SSMS and look how we're gonna update that table according to this diagram. So now let's look at our tables in SSMS, and we want to be in our store database. So let's do new query here. And I already have the script to generate the table. I'll post the script there too. Feel free to type it yourself. That way you can practice on writing tables. Let me minimize this window and paste it here on my active session. So yeah, as I mentioned, I'm creating a membership table with all the fields that I referenced in the last slide. So let me run the script. Make sure you're on the store database, and I am using the store command, the use command to get to the store database. So feel free to run this. All right, now refresh the database to make sure it's there. Go under tables. Okay, so now we have 3 tables, so that's good. So now what I want to do, I want to add this membership ID into our customers table so we can tie it back. So what you can do, there's 2 ways. Let's use that design interface. So add it here, and we're saying that it's an int. And let's unclick here, because we always want to fill that out. Whenever they create a new membership, we want them to select what type of membership they want, so this will update the table right away. So now click the X in order to save this. Let me see, I don't think it's gonna let me save it based on the values that we already have, so we may have to do allow nulls. So let me try it again. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a copy of this table. Let's see, what will be the best solution? Let's open a new query. Let's run a select statement here. Okay, so this is all the info we have. What we can do is create a copy of this one. Let's see if it created that table. Okay, we do have a customer copy. So now let's drop this table. Or let's copy a script. So what you can do in order to drop this table and add the do create to. So that way we need to add it. Let's try to add that other the other column again, see if it's gonna let us or not, if we allow it to be null. If not, I think it's some settings that we gotta change to. Is what was the membership ID, and I just want to copy and paste, make sure I don't type it incorrectly or anything like that. Let's see. Okay, so it did let us add it, so it's your option too. Let's try to refresh it. Where's the select? Okay, so let's do a select and see if the column is there. Well, it's not showing up there. I said that it added it. Let's see. Membership ID. Oh, okay, I see, because it's not in the select statement. So let's just select all the columns. Let's get rid of this. Okay, there we go. So at least now you can see that the membership ID was added. So that way we can now link the membership table here. And what I want to do with this membership table, so what I'll probably do myself, let me see if I can update this to BO1 and 2, just to see if I can make that value not be null. set membership. Let's just say equal to 1 for now. Looks like it hasn't refreshed. Let me try again. Oh, I didn't type it correctly anyway. Okay. So now let me go to the design again. So technically we don't have nulls. Let me see if I can update it now without dropping the table. Yeah, I think you gotta go into options and override maybe this one. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, yeah, so that's one way if you don't want to drop the table and re-add the columns. Remember, so go to tools, options, and what was it, designers, and unclick here, prevent saving changes that require table recreation. So that way it doesn't give you the errors and then you gotta drop it. So that's one way you can do it. The other way will be dropping that table, creating it, and then reinserting those records then with the membership information. So let me delete this copy that I created since I don't need it. So now in total I do have 3 tables. So on the customers table I don't have any records, but let me look over my information on what I'm gonna be adding. So before I add any records, what I want to do is make that first membership ID be an auto increment. So let's go back to design. This should be over here. Identity. Let's see. Oh no, I think when I did the script, it has it should already be there automatically. So when I do the insert statement, I don't have to provide a membership ID. So let's see. So insert into membership values. So it's VIP. And then what's the second value? Oh, SLA. So it's 1 for 1 day and 25. Let me just paste and make sure that I'm copying the table right. Okay, so it has been inserted. So let's create another one for the plus. And this one is 3 days. And this is $12 a month. So let's run it. Okay, so then the last one is standard. And this is 7 days and it's gonna be free, so that value has to be 0. Okay, now let's run a select statement again. Okay, there we go. So now we do have our membership table, and like I mentioned before, on our orders table we do have an SLA option, but now when I created it, I wasn't sure if I was gonna be using this to calculate the SLAs on that order based on, like I said, on the membership. But then when I was reviewing the second normalization, I realized that the SLA ties more to the customer ID and membership, which it shouldn't have any it shouldn't any dependencies on the order ID. It should be it shouldn't be based on this one. But what we can do now based on the order, we can say if this was SLA met. So we can, let me see if I can update the name to SLA met and see if it's gonna allow me. Okay, there we go. So now when we look at the orders table, we know that that SLA value, a 1 is if they met the SLA time, and 0 it if they didn't. So now this value is dependent on the order ID and on the customer ID now. So it is all these values, the ship date, SLA made and completed, are all depending for that order. So there's no other dependencies that may cause an issue or later on make it worse for us. So what I'm gonna do in the next video, I'm gonna go over more over entity relationships between tables. That's a thing too that is missing right now before we start creating store procedures or getting more into writing more I'll say intermediate SQL. But let me know if you have any questions, and once again, thank you for watching. Please like this video and share the video if you can.